There it goes. There it goes. All right. Is anybody out there? Anybody hear me? See me? Always weird on a Friday night, especially right before New Year's, which is weird. Captain Phil, how you doing, man? It's good to see you. Good to see you. Might be you and me right now. We'd just be on the phone, you know. You can hear and see me. I really appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Hopefully, some people will join tonight. I thought this might be a little bit of a gamble, and I don't like doing Friday nights. I really don't. But right now, schedule wise, it's the only thing that kind of works. So I'm just going to have to sort of deal with it for the time being, and then pick a better night, maybe down the road. But hopefully, some other people will be joining in. Hop into the comments if you can. Say hello. Captain Phil, what's new with you, man? Anything? Everything good? Brent Sauer, good evening. KC North, I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Got myself a basic classic Beretta 92 FS. It's a tack driver. You know, they are, man. Beretta 92s really are tack drivers. Pistol Pete, Happy New Year to you, my friend. Captain Phil, I was debating about picking up a 92. Is it the XI, the single action only one? I couldn't talk myself into it. I think part of it was the coating. I think it's just like a Cerakote coating on it. I had a hard time getting into that. And I still have a Langdon Tactical Compact, and I absolutely love the thing. It's great. It does exactly what I need it to do. So I don't know that I'll be adding another full-size Beretta to the mix anytime soon, although sitting next to me is actually an 80X. It's the OD Green, I guess, special edition version. So I'm very excited about that. I am not a fan of green guns. I don't like OD green, that sort of thing. It's just never been a thing for me. I've always preferred FDE or black or whatever. But this shade of green looks fantastic. I don't know. Maybe it's something the Italians do. I don't know. I think it's an ion bond coating that they put on it or something like that, to my understanding. And the launch edition I have as well, and I like it okay. But this green one just knocks it out of the park. So I'm excited about that for sure. Let's see. You sent your 92X to get the RDO cut by LTT. It's a smart move. Smart move for sure. A-Dubs, good to see you. Good to see you. Hopefully some others will say hello. It says 12 watching. So if anybody wants to say hi, definitely do so. A little bit later on, I've got a question for all of you, but hopefully some other people will be joining. Again, tonight might be a little bit of a gamble because it's the Friday before New Year's Eve. But yeah, you never know. You never know. A-Dubs, Pistol Pete, what's new with the two of you guys? I saw Rip the Jacker was in here earlier, but I'm not sure if he's in here again. He said he saw an AXG Scorpion on the picture, the thumbnail. Yes, that is exactly right. Still have that gun. It's one of the few 320s I really like, but I love it. So it's not going anywhere. So Pete, hi. Yeah. It's good, man. It's good. Well, everyone, pile in your questions, pile in your comments. Let's get a dialogue going for sure. Captain Phil, the OD Green, pretty hit or miss for me. Yeah, no, totally the same way. Generally speaking, I just don't care for it. I really don't. Let's see. The M9A3 was a stretch being FDE. Like my guns black. Guess I'm basic like that. You know, it's funny. So the M9A3 A4. I really like. I kind of like the hodgepodge FDE look. I think that's a sharp look. It doesn't bother me a bit. So those I really like. And actually, a buddy of mine at Centerfire just picked up a couple of M9A4s, a duo. I hope he shoulder rigs those things. That would be pretty sweet. But I think they're good looking guns. I do not have one, an M9A3 or A4, but I do like them. I really do. Pistol Pete, hoping SHOT Show has some surprises for us. You never know. You never know. I'll be honest with you. I can't think of anything right now that I'm excited about right now. Anyway, of course, SHOT Show hasn't happened. Who knows? Except for one thing, and and I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It's the new kind of mini VP9. I forget what the letters are, whatever that they're advertising. I hope that we find out more about that. I think I'd be interested to see it, if nothing else. I'm not sure if I'd buy it, but I'm a fan of HK, so I'd be curious to see that. Pistol Pete, I'd like to see the new P11C. So is that the official name? Is that the deal? The new version of the P10. Yeah, I'd like to see it too. I'm certainly not in the market for any more polymer per se, but I always like seeing new guns when they come in. So yeah, I'd like to check that out. Let's see. Do you have a favorite red dot? This is Captain Phil. Do you have a favorite red dot that you've been using lately? Just picked up an SRO for the 92X that's getting cut. Honestly, Captain Phil, I'm not a red dot guy. Thankfully, the eyes, and I'm saying this with glasses on, thankfully the eyes still work, still pick up irons, and I've been shooting with them for over 40 years. I'm just used to that. I'm comfortable with that. I understand the advantages to red dots. I acknowledge that, and I acknowledge that I might be hindering myself a little bit in certain cases. So that's on me. But I'm not a red dot guy. I'm really not. Someday down the road, I probably will. I've got a couple that I did for testing back when I was doing videos more often or at all. But they just sit on a shelf. Again, someday down the road. Nathaniel Young, good to see you. Love the HKs. Nice. Me too, man. I do as well, for sure. Pistol Pete, I'd like to see two-tone DWX or all stainless DWX full size. I'd be in. I would really try to not I walk into this and talk about DWXs a lot because they are on the top of the list for me in terms of the collection right now. They're so much fun to shoot, but any alterations on those would be fine. I'd be curious to see some different ones if they do it. I think the only thing they're going to do is a red dot cut of some sort or another, like many manufacturers do. They come out with the first gun that's plain Jane, and then the next year they come out with one that's red dot capable or whatever else, just so people will spend more money. That's pretty common. So who knows? Nathaniel Young, what is a good accessory to add to the HKP 30 as CCW? Holster, belt. I don't know. Everybody's a little bit different on that. I am a fan of the short reset trigger, and on the HK, the P30, the short reset trigger is fantastic, and it's really just a little bar. You've got to take apart the gun, or at least a portion of it, the trigger group, and then put in the bar. But I like that quite a bit. I run that on both of my P30s, and that's fine. You could do a reduced hammer spring if you really wanted to, but I don't know that I would recommend that on a carry gun. Let's see, Captain Phil, do you own mini HKs? ICCW, a USP 9C. Oh, that's cool. And an HK 45C. So yeah, a regular VP9 and a VP9 SK. P30 standard, not the L, and then a P30 SK. So for whatever reason, I like that combination of guns. And then a USP compact, USP, it's actually the P8A1. That actually just came in today. I've had a full size before, but I really wanted the P8. And then the Experts, the USP Expert, and then a pair of tacticals, a 9 and a 45, and I pair those with Silencer Co. Ospreys, the 45 and the 9mm. I just like the look, and they suppress really well. They run like champs. You could just beat the crap out of those guns, run them really dirty, and they're fine suppressed. So that's my HK collection right now. And again, I'm not necessarily looking to add anything else to it. That's a lot of plastic for me. But anyway. Pistol Pete, the slide of the DWX is already stainless. So, well, that's true. That is very true. But I like the finish on it. I like how it looks right now, especially with the red grips. By the way, I did talk to someone that's close to CZ and Dan Wesson the other day. They were saying that some people are having problems with the DWX compact, the grips, and all that. So I keep your ears to the ground, see if you hear anything. I'd be curious about that. NJW 1977, still go to Centerfire often, more than I want to admit. Yes, I'm at Centerfire all the time. I feel like I've always said it's my home away from home. Now it is almost like home. And I'm sure they get tired of me quite often, but I am there a lot. Yeah, for sure. Nathaniel Young, thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. Captain Phil, dang, like that HK collection. Yeah, if I'm going to run plastic, if I'm going to have polymer firearms in the collection, generally speaking, it's HK most of the time. I do still have some Glocks, and I still have the P80s that I built over time, although I don't do anything with them. They're just basically parts collection, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, the HK for polymer just seems to work for me pretty well. I like them. They do what I need them to do. All right, Pistol P, the DWX was the first DLC gun I bought. It's a pretty awesome finish. I agree. Yeah, it's a sharp looking gun all the way around. The fit and finish is fantastic. I mean, I've been nothing but impressed, especially with a weaker left hand now. It's extremely easy to shoot. Same with the Shadow 2 and P226 X5 Legion, and some of those big heavy guns just make it a lot easier on me. So I enjoy that quite a bit for sure. NJW 1977 B. Let's see, go off to myself. So you're there quite a bit. Well, you know, our paths have probably crossed at one time or another. Again, I'm there quite a bit. Mika, you're late. That's okay. That's okay. Totally acceptable. I see some other people are joining now too. Again, everybody say hi if you want, ask questions, comments, all those sorts of things. This is certainly interactive. And I do have a question for everyone that's watching now that we're a few minutes into this. So a few weeks ago, talking to 1776 or Bust, he sort of inspired me a little bit. And we all do this as gun owners from time to time. We go back and think about any firearms that were in the collection and perhaps have moved on down the road for whatever reason. And thinking about, are there any that you want to go back and revisit? And I'm sort of in that place right now. In fact, just picked up an Archon B, the Type B, and I did the review on that. I absolutely loved that gun. It was a fantastic gun. Very impressed with it all the way around. And I was kind of mad at myself when I let that go. So picked one of those up. So I'm excited to revisit that. And then the other one is actually the CZ SP01 Phantom. That was also a really good gun, much better than I thought it would be. I'm a big fan of the SP01, just the standard or the orange or whatever flavor that's out there, because again, I like the heavier guns, are a lot more fun to shoot, not to carry, but certainly more fun to shoot at the range. But that Phantom was fantastic. I think it punches a little bit above its weight class, at least in terms of the weight and how it feels, how it shoots as compared to other polymer firearms. And part of it is actually a fairly large gun. Obviously, it's an SP01, so it's a full-size gun. It's bigger than a Glock 17. So, but those are the two that I immediately said, okay, if I'm going to go back and retrace some steps, those would be the first two that I would start with. I can't really think of anything else right now that makes me want to go back and spend money again and that sort of thing. But those two, I did. So I picked up the Archon. I haven't picked up the Phantom yet. It's on the way, but I'm very excited about that. So I want to know about you guys. What guns have you kind of thought, man, I wish I still had that, or I'd like to go back and get that again. I would be really, really curious. Scott, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Sorry you missed last time. Glad you're here tonight. Pistol Pete, you can get a threaded barrel for the Phantom and throw a can on it. That's really tempting. That's really tempting. I did not know there was a threaded barrel, although that would make sense. I guess there is the SP01 tactical that what do they call it? It's not FDE, but it's like Urban Gray, I think. That does have a threaded barrel. So that might be something I have to do. Thanks for spending more of my money. Really appreciate that. Captain Phil, I missed my HK VP9 and my CZP07. Okay. wanted to try something different. So I sold them off to pay for others to try out. P10C in a way as well. It's funny. A lot of times we do that. Now I know there are some people that, when they get something in the collection, it never leaves. Bless you. I wish I could do that. I can't. There's only so much money out there. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people want to go back and kind of retrace the steps a little bit and kind of retry what you've already tried. However, it's also nice to be able to sometimes move some things out of the collection so you can get something else instead, because we all want to try everything, I think. I know I do. Scott, I'm on the hunt for an M1 Grand that's not going to cost me an arm and a leg. Well, good luck. I hope you can find something fun. I mean, they are fun guns to shoot for sure. The ammo can be a little bit challenging to find too sometimes. We struggle with that every once in a while, but they are a lot of fun. So I hope you find what you're looking for. I really do. Nathaniel Young, new at concealed carry. Is there any advice you would give me in which I might not have heard through safety classes? So good gun, obviously good gun, but good gun belt and a good holster. Those are the first two things. I mean, obviously you have to start with the gun, but once you pick the gun, get a really good quality belt and holster. That's exceptionally important. You want to make sure that it's protected, the trigger is covered, then you've got a stable platform, that belt, to make sure it and anything else you want to attach to it stays where it needs to stay. So start with that stuff. But then after that, just practice, maybe get some lessons, unless you're comfortable with all the fundamentals and that sort of thing. If you are, then just get to the range, put a lot of rounds through it, get used to it, the nuances of it, how you approach it, your grip, and then dry fire practice, and even maybe some draw practice as well. So those would be the things that I would recommend. NA, FN509 for me. I've had a couple, but got bored, sold them, would probably go back for more. God help me. I can relate, man. I can totally relate. Absolutely. And the 509 is a good gun, man. They're built like tanks. Most FNs are. I played around with a reflex a couple months ago, didn't shoot it, but just kind of dry fired and played around with it. I was more impressed than I thought I would be. FN has not ever been one that has excited me. They're good guns, nothing wrong with them. It's not one that I gravitate towards. Same thing with a few other brands as well. But that reflex, I didn't mind it. It was not too bad. Brent Sauer, I had an Eagle Arms AR-15 with a muzzle brake and an SIR rail. My wife bought it for me when we were dating. I traded it in to the gun shop in North Kansas City. Sure wish I could get it back. Okay. Now, are you able to recreate it, perhaps, if nothing else? Obviously, finding the same gun again is extremely challenging. I will tell you, though, a little story. I bought a Glock 43 back when they first came out, because it was before I had the channel or anything. I just at the time was a huge Glock fan. I mean, that's basically all I knew. And so I bought that. I dolled it up I had sights and extra magazines and all sorts of things, anything and everything I could think of to do to it, I did to it. Nothing gold, nothing blingy, but just all the accessories and everything. And then I sold it, maybe a year later, 2 years later, or whatever it was. And then for whatever reason, I don't know why, I had it in my head I needed to pick up a Glock 43 again. And I might have been doing the channel at the time. I can't remember, but I found a person that was selling one. I met up with them at the Bass Pro parking lot and bought the firearm. And I brought it home and I opened it back up because it was fairly dark when I did this. Nothing seedy or anything like that. I was actually a really nice guy, but I opened it up and I was like, man, this just looks so familiar. Like all of this stuff seems like the stuff that I did to mine. I keep the receipts for all my firearms. I ended up looking up the receipt for the firearm. Sure enough, that was actually mine. So it came around full circle. Now I have since sold that again, but yeah, I mean, what are the chances of that happening? And I know the person that I bought it from was not the person I sold it to. So it's just very, very strange. It's one of the reasons I no longer sell private party. No, I'm out of that game, but yeah, full circle. What are the chances? What are the odds of that happening? Very, very strange. Pistol Pete, I had a CZ75 SPO1 tactical urban gray. Oh, suppressor ready. There you go. Yeah. Sent it to CZC, so CZ Custom, before I ever shot it. 85C trigger and trigger job. It's a beast. I'm kind of jealous. That sounds awesome. I had the PO1 urban gray, and I don't have it anymore. I kind of wish I do. But the SPO1 also looked fantastic. So I'm sure it's a great shooter. Dexter, good to see you. Hey, back to you, my friend. Hey, back to you. Captain Phil, KS waiting on any suppressors. Order my first. Huxworks, nice. The Ventum 762. That one I'm not familiar with. I am familiar with Huxworks, though. Pretty pumped to throw it on my ARs and my AUG. Nice. That's cool, man. I do not have anything in the pipeline right now. I've got a buddy at work that is hardcore into NFA items, into suppressors and that sort of thing. And he tends to talk myself and everybody else into getting more suppressors. And I fell into that rabbit hole quite a bit. I can't justify anymore at this time. I don't use all the ones that I have, to be honest with you. I mean, I love those Ospreys. My Omega 9K just lives on my B&T APC 9K. And then I think I've got a rugged Obsidian that sits on my CMMG Banshee, but everything else just kind of gathers dust. So probably no more suppressors for me for now. I will admit though, what was it? The Wolfman. I wanted a naked Wolfman, but they no longer do that. They just do the standard one. So I could probably find them on Gunbroker, but I really don't want to pay the expense for that. So I'll let it go. But I always thought those were really cool, and I'm kind of mad I didn't get one when they were still being made. It is what it is. Steve B, good to see you, Steve. Scott, try the CMP. Nice. That's actually a really good idea for sure. Scott, I picked up a Glock 34 Gen 5 for $450 a month or two ago, MOS version. Nice, excellent. I've always liked the Glock 34. I think it's a great gun. They've always called it the practical tactical, something like that. But they're good guns for sure. I competed with one many years ago. Back when there were a lot fewer options, to be honest with you. Peter, good to see you, Peter. What do you think about the response from Smith & Wesson? It's fine. It's a fine gun. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but PDWs or pistol caliber carbines and such are extremely popular, largely because almost anyone can shoot them. If you've got a house full of people, family, whatever, kids, spouse, that sort of thing, just about anybody can operate the firearm. So that makes that, first of all, fun at the range, fun to train with, but also practical in certain situations. So I see the desire for things like that. And I certainly have several PDWs of my own, but the Smith & Wesson, that one's just not on my radar. Scott 79. I also picked up a second green CZPO1. Oh my gosh. Still on the hunt for the SPO1 tactical in green. I did see one of those. It might have been a year ago on Gunbroker. I thought it was super cool. Did not jump on that. Probably should have. But the PO1 green, yeah, they pop up from time to time. But yeah, they're cool looking guns for sure. Pete, Dan, Glock is like a lost puppy, and you kicked it to the curb again. Yeah, I did. The 43, man, I got to tell you, I mean, I don't have the biggest hands in the world by any stretch. I'm not like Big Johnson or Honest Outlaw or some of those guys, but I wear whatever, large, sometimes X large gloves. The 43 is just not a fun gun for me to shoot. Not at all. I don't care for it. It doesn't fit in my hand very well. So aside from the broadside of a barn, I can't really shoot much with it. So it's not something that I would want to keep around. Dexter, I've been told you really only need a couple. A couple what? Suppressors? Get whatever you can. I would say certainly if you're into 22s, get a 22 can, get a pistol can of some sort or another. If you want one that kind of flexes, get a 45, and then get a rifle can, maybe a 308 can or something like that, just so you have something that can apply to a lot of different firearms, makes it a little bit more versatile. Pistol Pete, I will never sell my SPO1 tactical. Yeah, I don't blame you there. Neil Cole, good to see you. Glock puppy, yeah. All right. Let's see. Yeah, it's kicking it to the curb. Now I get it. I'm a little slow on that one. Steve B, I had the Shadow 2 compact at the range today. I have to get used to the trigger. Tested a 3.2. Let's see. Cut the bullseye out of the target at 25 yards. Nice, Steve. That's awesome. Yeah, the Shadow 2 compact, man. It's a fantastic gun. It really is. I've said it before. I mean, I would put that right up there with the DWX compact and maybe SIG P210 carry. I know some people scoff at that one. I love that gun. I like that size firearm with a little bit more heft than some of the polymer counterparts out there. So very good gun. Scott to Pistol Pete, me neither. I picked up a regular SPO1, still want the green version to match the PO1 green. Yeah. Fantastic guns. Yeah, we actually have an SPO1 at Centerfire right now for sale. We don't see those very often, so I'm sure it will not last very long at all. Pistol Pete, I've never seen the SPO1 tactical in green. Yeah, just, go on Gunbroker. You'll see them from time to time, and I'm sure you spend time on Gunbroker. So, Looney Tune, good to see you. Let's see. Do you think the staccatos are a fad or a prestige point right now? I rented a P and wasn't wowed. Not sure what the hype is all about. It essentially shoots like a nice 9mm 1911. Interesting. So, is it a hype? Probably not at this point. I don't think it's a hype or a fad. If you'd asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said, yeah, probably. But I think they're here to stay. A lot more people are jumping, a lot more companies rather, are jumping into the 2011 games. So I think it's pretty serious genre anymore. The big thing for me is just, it's a bigger grip. I agree with you. It is very similar to a 9mm 1911, which also can be a lot of fun to shoot. But just the extra ammunition, of course, the capacity, but then also the different structure of the frame and the grip. Typically that grip is a polymer. So your frame is an aluminum and then your slide's a steel. So that it's going to be a little bit different than a 1911, generally speaking. But yeah, I'd say it's probably not a fad now. Probably not. People talk about them entirely too much. And I bet at SHOT Show this year, we'll see a lot of 2011 activity. If I'm wrong, you guys will have to let me know, give me trouble for that. But anyway, I don't think it's a fad. Let's see, Dexter. Right, that's why I say 22, 30 cal, and 45. Yeah, absolutely. Dexter, the only new thing I bought was a used 930 JM Pro. Okay, all right, fair enough. Let's see, Scott, the green SPO1 tactical or limited run, the Kentucky Gun Company did. So I actually thought CZ did those. Okay, good to know. Huh. Let's see, Pistol Pete, the DWX full size is all the 2011 I need. CZ grip is home for me. Yeah. I mean, it certainly is an alternative for sure. I think there are certainly differences between the two. I can't call the DWX a 2011. I can't call a 2011 a DWX style firearm. There are just enough differences there. However, the shooting experience is largely the same. So yeah, it certainly scratches the itch for me as well, Pete. Peter, one gun for life, and why? So, I mean, literally only one gun. I mean, if that were the case, it would have to be a practical gun, unfortunately, and have to kind of toss away some of the fun guns that really aren't as carryable or as practical, like the Shadow 2s and various things. So I don't know. One gun for life. I don't know. I could be boring and just say like a Glock 19, or actually Glock 19X for me. I prefer that, but I'd probably go HK, like a P30 or something like that. That would be my one gun for life. And again, just practicality. Captain Phil, any 45 cal suppressor recommendations? I was thinking of the Rugged Obsidian. That would have been one of two recommendations. The Rugged Obsidian, I like Rugged a lot. I've got quite a few of their cans. But then also the Omega 45K. That's a silencer co, I believe. It's a great can. In fact, that was the very first can I ever bought. I wanted something to kind of flex in whatever roles I need to. So those two you can't go wrong with. You really can't. Let's see. I think Yankee Hill has a 45 as well if you wanted to be a little bit more budget conscious. All right, Scott, CZ will do limited runs if someone will order enough of them. Okay, so if we all get together and order 500 green SPO1s, maybe they'll do it. That would be very expensive. Looney Tune, do you currently own any double stack 9mm, 1911 or 2011? I do not right now. I mean, again, I've got the DWX, but we're not really calling that a 1911 or a 2011. So I don't. I've certainly had staccatos in the past, but focus just kind of shifted, and I kind of went away from that. So I like them. Nothing wrong with them. I just don't have any right now. Scott, Easy CZ Custom SDP. Okay, fair enough. Pistol Pete, Liberty Cosmic. Okay. Ruben Wrangle, is it Wrangle? I hope I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not. What brand of 1911 45 do you recommend? That's a tough question. The first question that comes to mind is what's your budget? That's a big consideration because 45s really stretch a long way. I mean, you can get some really good budget 45s. I see TSOS come through the shop a lot. And those usually the fitment's pretty good, the trigger's pretty good. I don't know the longevity of them, but from what I've seen, they're actually fairly impressive. So that's going to be more on the budget end. But if it were up to me, I would say plan on spending $1,000 minimum on a good 1911, and really more than that. My highest recommendation would probably be Dan Wesson if you can afford it. I mean, it's kind of a buy once, cry once sort of thing because you're going to be anywhere from $1,400 to $2,000, generally speaking, depending on the model, sometimes even a little bit more than that. But they are very well made. And I think you'd be very impressed. But if you don't want to dive all the way into the deep end of the pool and you just want to stick your toes in for now, there are certainly some budget options. And I would say look at the TSOS and some of the other ones. I think Gearson might even have one. Excuse me, stay away from Taurus. That would be a recommendation as well. But there are definitely some options out there. Hopefully some other people will have some suggestions as well. Brent Sauer, One Gun for Life, Colt AR-15A4. Okay, nice. Very good. Very good. The only problem I see with that, Brent, is if you need to conceal it in a certain situation, and again, you only have the one gun, the Colt would be challenging, although it would be practical in a lot of other scenarios. So, I don't know the right answer for that. Pistol Pete, and you'll be carrying the 1911. And will you be carrying it? Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't be carrying a 1911. Not for me, but it is a good question. Scott, I picked up a Taylor and Company 1911 A1, and it's just a rebranded Rock Island. So is that pretty budget oriented? I think Taylor and Company. I remember that. Are they still around? I do remember them from a long time back. But that is a good suggestion. Pistol Pete, Dan Wesson Guardian in 45. Well, you know me, I love my 9 Guardian. Absolutely love it. Dan Wesson just makes fantastic 1911s. They really do. And I promise you, I'm not biased because I like the DWX. I was into Dan Wesson long before those came around, and they just make good 1911s. SIG always made good 1911s as well. They just don't make many anymore. In fact, they used to have a whole catalog full of 1911s, both in 9mm and in 45. And they just have largely gotten away from that, especially since the 365 and 320 kind of became their dominant product that they sell. So, but there are other alternatives as well. In fact, I mean, to a large extent, Springfield makes pretty good 1911s. I'm not a big fan of their polymer stuff per se, but their 1911s have always been reasonable. Neil Cole, like my TSOS. Okay, there you go. Nice. Scott, I got it from PSA for $325 on special. Wow. Okay, so that was that relatively current? That's a heck of a deal. 325 for a 1911 is great. And as long as it works, I mean, if you're talking about something that is a carry, then and Pete was kind of alluding to that as well, then you're probably going to want to spend a little bit more money, get a good quality 1911 and test it out a lot, just to make sure that it's reliable. Keep it clean. That's another thing about 1911s. They need to be oiled and cleaned fairly regularly, at least oiled regularly and cleaned after you shoot for sure. But those are big considerations for sure. Steve B. I have 4 military 1911 A1s and an Ed Brown. Wow, nice. That's a cool collection. That's very cool. I'd be curious to know if some of these military ones are like World War II or anything like that. I mean, that's really cool. And the history behind them is just, I think it's awesome. It's pretty close to my heart. First handgun I ever shot was a Colt 45 from World War II. So I thought it was very, very cool. Just about knocked me over. I was a little kid. So, Captain Phil, KS, do you have any 45s that you carry, or are you 9 only for CCW? 9, generally speaking. That's a 9 or even a 380. I'm okay with that. The only 45 that comes to mind that I did carry at one time was the Shield 45, and that was a great gun. I actually thoroughly enjoyed shooting that for the size that it was. It shot like a bigger gun, and I valued that, and it was still pretty comfortable to carry. But anymore, generally speaking, 9, like I said, or 380, depending on the situation. So I'm a fan of 380. I don't have a problem with it at all, and nobody wants to get shot with a 380 any more than they do with a 9. So let's see, Scott. I was never a fan of the SIG 1911 because it's an 80 series design. That's fair. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, most people would say the 70 is better. Now, Scott, do you think that the 80 series is better from a carry perspective? I'd be curious to know about that. Certainly, trigger wise, I fall in the camp of the 70 series, no doubt about it. But carry wise, I don't know. Looney Tune, are you enjoying any ported comp pistols at the moment? Yes. So a couple that I'm enjoying: the 320 AXG Legion and the P226 X5 Legion. Both are fantastic. Again, that theme of the heavier guns just makes it easier because my left hand is not what it used to be. So yeah, those are fantastic guns. I still would like to get a 365 AXG Legion, although I'm sort of talking myself out of it a little bit because I wouldn't carry it. It would be a collection gun, and that's a big expense for a small gun, but they are good looking. And they're starting to finally trickle down. I'm starting to see them happen a little bit and get a little bit more prevalent in the gun broker space anyway. So, but yeah, Looney Tune, those are the two that I enjoy. And they are fantastic guns. I would recommend both of them. They're a little pricey, but I would recommend them. Scott, I think I got Last Christmas on special. Okay, so just a year ago. I mean, that's pretty current, I'd say. It's good to know, man. Taylor and Company. Wow. Yeah, that's to talk about a brand that isn't talked about, right? Who thinks about Taylor and Company? When's the last time you turned on YouTube and saw somebody talking about a Taylor and Company gun? So that's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned them. Ruben Rangel. Well, again, I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you. I will look into the Dan Wesson. Hopefully I can find one in California. Oh, yeah. Good to know you're in California. What is the 1911 situation in California? I don't know how California views 1911s. I'd be curious to know. I would think they would probably be higher up than a lot of other guns because they're limited capacity, single stack. But what do I know? Let's see. Scott, PSA is selling a 1911 called the Admiral. I believe that's the name of it. I'm pretty sure it's a Rock Island. Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Pete, the only ones in the California roster are Dan Wesson, C-Bomb, and the Point Man. Okay. No, I don't live in California. Well, I mean, those are good options. Both of them are. I like the Point Man a lot. It's a good looking gun. Scott, if you can find one, the CZ97BD is amazing, but they're out of production and they're going to be pricey. Scott, I thought of you the other day. I was on Gunbroker and I was looking at 97s, and there were a couple out there that actually looked like they were in pretty good shape, and they were under 1,000, which I was surprised about. I was thinking they were going to go up a lot more, a lot faster. They were hovering around 8 or 9, somewhere around there. So Yeah, they're around, but you're exactly right. They're out of production. I think that was a big miss on CZ's part. They're beautiful guns, and they're wonderful shooters for 45s. Steve B, World War One, World War Two, Korea, Vietnam. Oh my gosh, Korea, Vietnam. I carry all carried by family members. Wow, that's a story to tell, my friend. Don't ever let anything happen to those. That is so neat. That is so neat. I'm I'm jealous, to be honest with you. Are they all Colt, or maybe some Remingtons? Or I'd be curious to know that as well. Captain Phil, let's see. Do you have any wheel guns in your CCW lineup? I have a Smith & Wesson 642 that's an ankle carry when I'm at work. Interesting. Well, the 642 is a great option for that, no doubt about it. It's kind of a classic carry gun. I don't. I've got a Smith & Wesson. I think it's a, don't quote me, 586 L comp. I know it's an L comp, but I think it's the 586. And it's a great gun. It's a lot of fun, but it's a chunky monkey. It would not be very much fun to carry. Even the K comp's a little bit big, although smaller than the L comp. But it's a fun gun to shoot, no doubt. In fact, 38 Special feels like a 9mm. It really does. That comp makes a huge difference on that firearm. Neil Cole, I carry a DB9 in a Kevin's concealment holster available at Etsy. Practical perfection. Okay. All right. I mean, if that system works for you, rock it. That's cool. That's cool. I think I've shot a DB9 once, I think. Yeah, I think I have. Captain Phil, let's see. Agreed on my CZ 97 BD. That's cool. So there's a, is it, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. There's a B, a D, and a BD. Is that right? Keep me honest on that. And the D is the D cocker. Is that right? Or is that just the BD? I don't know. It's hard to keep them all straight. Let's see, Scott. Let's see. I don't carry anything that's locked and cocked gun. I prefer carrying something that's a D cocker with the hammer fired or Glock style pistol. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm the same way. Either one of those options is fine with me. Scott, that's not bad. KS, yeah. Let's see, Steve B, all Colt. Okay, gosh, man, that's super cool. That's super cool. I'm extreme. Color me jealous right now. Colt 1911s. There's a special place in my heart. In fact, I've got a couple of 9mm that I really enjoy shooting and shot the other day. Actually, the 9mm competition. That's a great gun. It's got a little bit of trigger work on it, which is kind of nice. And then a commander size. I think it's probably a Series 80. I'm pretty sure. So pretty plain Jane. And it's not as much fun as the competition, but I do enjoy shooting both of them quite a bit. Let's see, Looney Tune. The 45 Shield was slept on. Yeah, it holds as many rounds as a government model. I agree. I am sort of surprised that more people don't carry that if they prefer 45 as well, because it really was a great shooter, shot above its weight class. I believe that. Let's see, Scott, I put a lock palm swell grips on the, excuse me, 97 BD, way better feeling in my hand than the thin aluminum grips. You know, it's funny. So I've done lock grips for a long time, as all of you know, and great company. They make just awesome products. I've sort of gone back to the aluminum grips a little bit, partly because the colors are fun. Yeah, I'm that guy. But also they don't feel bad to me. If I were to run something in competition, yeah, I'd be going back to, I like the thin textured grips from Lock. Those were just kind of the preferred. It got a little bit more 1911-esque, and I really like that grip feel. So I would certainly go back to that. I still have all of my Lock grips, but I've kind of gone back to the aluminum for the time being. If it's more just for funsies at the range and I'm not shooting fast, I really can't shoot as fast as I used to anyway. So yeah, I've just kind of switched back to that. Okay. So B is the safety model. BD is the decocker. Okay. So they don't have just a plain D. Gotcha. Okay. I can't keep them all straight. Neil Cole, DB9 is super lightweight and practical concealment and in all clothing or shorts in the summer. Okay, yeah, they're small guns for sure. Let's see. God, I looked at the time a second ago. 7:43. I feel like I just started this stream. That's kind of wild. Thank you guys all so much for all the great questions and hanging around and chatting on a Friday night before New Year's Eve. And once again, to everybody, Happy New Year's. So I don't, just in case I forget to say it at the very end. I hope you guys all have a great time and are safe and all that kind of good stuff. Drive fast, be bad, all that good stuff. All right, let's see. Captain Phil, 2 of my CCWs are HK with LEM triggers. LEM is life. Agreed, 100%. Both my P30s are LEM. None of my USPs are, though. I do like traditional double action, single action, the whatever V3 probably with the USPs. I'm kind of weird about that. Robbie Brunson. Hope I'm saying that right. Wonder if PSA will do a 2011 style gun. Yeah, probably. Yeah, they kind of dip their toes into everything. Seem to be doing a lot with what people want, but it might not be good enough of a profit margin for them. That's an interesting point, Robbie. I would say, yeah, they'll probably get into it. I don't see why they wouldn't. You're right. They dip their toes into a little bit of everything. I've got one of their AKVs and I love it. That thing is awesome. I've never had an issue with it at all. Really high quality, well built, all that good stuff. So yeah, they probably will. I'm sure they're going to try and get into that. But you're right. I don't know what price point they could do so they can make some money, but it could also be cost effective to the customers. That's a really good question. Really good question. Let's keep an eye on that one for sure. Scott, I think PSA would probably do one if they can make money on it. Yeah, it's exactly right. 100%. And it would have to be mass produced. So I would think it would have to be a little bit more along the lines of the Prodigy rather than something like a Staccato or even totally custom built like an Atlas or anything. Obviously, they're not going to do anything like that. But I would say, again, it would have to be on in the vein of the Prodigy or even what's the, I guess the Platypus, although I guess those are all kind of custom made. But are they really custom though? I know they're custom painted, but I don't know. I don't know enough about the Platypus. They intrigue me, but I don't know enough about them. Peter, Kimber 1911. That's a good choice. That is true. Yeah. I'm terrible about that. I just don't think of Kimber as much as I should. But what is it? The Rapide? That's a good looking gun. They're expensive, but they're good looking. Steve B, do you ever go to the Tulsa? I'm assuming Tulsa gun show. I was there this spring, spent way too much. I have not ever gone. That's not entirely too far away from me, though. That's kind of doable from a car perspective. So it might be something to look into at some point in time. I haven't gone to a gun show in years, to be honest with you. I haven't, with the connection to Centerfire being there, I have access to enough things that the gun show just isn't as exciting as it once was. Pistol Pete, you always shot fast, and now you probably just shoot normally. No, man, I'm slow now. I really am. So after surgery, I took a long time off from shooting, just pretty much at all. But now I've really started getting back into it quite a bit. In fact, I've joked with some of the guys at Centerfire. I think I've shot more in the last month and a half or so than I did for almost a year. So, I mean, that's kind of a big deal there. But I have a weird, I guess you could call it a tick almost. So I pull the trigger, that all works fine. And I hit the target, that's fine. So that's my first shot. So I hit it where I want to, within reason, of course. But then I reset and there's just this tiny wobble that happens. And it's actually my hand's doing it. It's my left hand because obviously it's there, it's holding. And it just sort of just almost this pulse. And if I shoot too fast, I catch it on the pulse and my shot is 2, 3, 4, 5 inches off. And so I've had to learn to slow down and let that pass. I'm really trying to work through it. And hopefully it's something that will just go away over time. But it's a weird nuance. I mean, that's just kind of what one of the things I have to deal with now, at least for the time being, but just being able to shoot. And even if it's slow and I look like an old man when I'm shooting, I'm okay with that. That's totally fine. It's just fun to be able to do it again. Captain Phil, KS, do you do a monthly or quarterly proficiency, sorry, shooting trip with all your CCWs or something of the sort? Any suggestions? I really don't, and I should. I mean, I do shoot. I've got a 365 that I carry, generally speaking. And I do shoot it. Of course, again, after surgery, I didn't shoot anything for quite a while. And that was definitely not on the list. I mean, it's a snappier gun. Let's be real about it. But I do shoot it, and I should shoot it more. I really should. Everyone should shoot their carry gun. I mean, quarterly is a good goal. Monthly is a better goal. My weekly is probably not a very realistic goal for a lot of people, although some people certainly do. And I need to be better about that. So to answer your question right now, I really don't. And that's a bad habit. That's a bad habit. Let's see. TKD, I'm so sorry. I'm going to call you TKD. I hope that's okay. But it says, welcome back, KS. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. It's good to be doing this again. I will be doing this a little bit more often. And not just me. I mean, I'm sure some of the other guys will hop on from time to time as well. So I maybe twice a month or something like that. Every week is probably overkill. But yeah, glad to be back. Pistol Pete, shoot it and shoot it with your carry ammo. I do agree with that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that should be the very first thing you do after you get it out of the box. And I always recommend cleaning them. If nothing else, to get used to the gun, especially for newer gun owners. For a lot of us here, probably not as big of a deal. You've been around guns, you kind of understand how that works. But for newer people, just taking it apart, learning how to disassemble, reassemble it, but then also the general cleaning points, all of that is a really good idea. And once you clean it, yeah, go to the range, shoot it with your carry ammo for sure. Shoot it with range ammo as well. Break it in a bit. Everybody's got a different break-in regiment. And some people are sticklers for the manufacturer's recommendation. I always say somewhere between 250 and 500 rounds for a carry gun. I think that's pretty realistic. 250 to me is minimum, just to make sure everything works right, to marry up the parts, make sure that there aren't any deficiencies or anything like that. 500 or so would be a really good, but a little bit more expensive as well. So certainly 250 rounds. That, in my opinion. Steve B, twice a year. Okay, a 12-hour drive for me. That's where I found the model 12 and 28 gauge to complete my collection. Nice. Yeah, I love 28 gauge, by the way. That's a ton of fun. We had a shotgun come into center fire. This was a month or two ago. This thing, the case was obviously it was a fold open, beautiful, heavy wood case, but it had your frame receiver, however you want to say it, in there. But then it had a whole series of barrels on the top side of it, 12, 20, 28, and 410. That was super cool. And it was not an inexpensive shotgun. I mean, I would have ballparked that around $12,000 to $15,000, but it was really cool. So yeah, 28 gauge. There's something about that, man. Let's see, Scott, we can all bust on 1776 because he keeps buying and selling the same guns over and over again. Hey, I've been guilty of that too. I will plainly admit that I've had more than my fair share of VP9s, and I won't tell you how many Glock 19s I've had over the years. Now, this spans 2.5 decades, probably certainly more than 2 decades. But still an embarrassing amount. The VP9 that I have now, I told myself, that's it. You might as well keep it because you can't have another one. And I don't have plans to buy a Glock again at all, unless the Glock 46 materializes in the United States, and I doubt it will. But that would be the only thing that would inspire me as far as Glock goes. But yeah, I am definitely guilty of that, Scott. He's pretty bad about it, but so am I. So am I. Dan O'Neill, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Let's see. Kimber. Summer tight, need a mild tune-up out of the box. Okay, some people say 100%. Mine needed a minor tune-up. Shoots 175 grain, LSWC 10 millimeter. Okay, cool. Very, very cool. Pistol Pete, 1776. Did buy a 45, though. He's starting to mature now. You know what? We all have to grow up at some point in time, right? Let's see, Scott 79. Yeah, KS, but you buy good guns and then sell them and buy them again. He doesn't. We all have our thing, man. We all have our thing. We really do. I'm going to try and get a little bit better about that. And if anyone from Centerfire is in the background watching this, they're going to be laughing at me, and I will hear about it tomorrow, I'm sure. But I'm going to try and bring in the new year with a slightly different plan as far as firearms go. It's more about enjoying what I've got rather than chasing the next thing, because at the end of the day, I mean, what you've got now, if you've got some firearms, they're good. Right? As long as they function, they're good. So I don't know. At least that's what I'm trying to tell myself right now. I don't know how long that's going to last. We might be laughing at each other in a month. Who knows? Let's see. Scott, the only Glock I really want that rotate. Yeah, it's the 46, the rotating barrel one. That's what I'm talking about. If that came around, first off, we would never be able to find them because everyone would lose their mind for that firearm. No doubt about it. And I mean, if people are losing their mind over the 47 and the 49, I don't know why, but if they are, then they definitely would lose their mind over the 46. So, but I would definitely be interested in that as well. Captain Phil, let's see. Yeah, I have to own something in 45 or my dad wouldn't consider me his son anymore. I do like 45 a lot, and reloading obviously helps in shooting them regularly. No doubt about that. 45s are more expensive. 380 is expensive as well. I mean, 9mm is certainly the most cost-effective pistol round, in my opinion, out there right now. Pistol Pete, let's see, Gaston Glock died, but he was my hero. His wife was 50 years younger than him. That's impressive. Yeah, I saw a picture of her on Instagram. That might have been the first picture I'd ever seen of her, just because I guess I wasn't looking. I don't know. But yeah, she's a pretty lady for sure. Jack Bauer, good to see you. Howdy KS, just got home from shooting all day on my land. Really enjoyed the Beretta Storm PX4. Yeah, buddy, PX4 compact. Well done. Your review helped me with that purchase. Thank you. So I got to tell you, Jack, I went to the range. Like I've been telling these guys that I've been really trying to shoot a lot more. It's been a lot of fun. And the other day I took the USP compact and the PX4 Storm. Now the USP compact I enjoy. It's fun, but it's not one that I really want to shoot a lot. Part of it, I mean, it's got a high bore and everything. It's a little bit more wily in my hands. That PX4 Storm compact, it's the LTT version. Man, that is such a good shooter. It's so soft shooting. It's accurate. It's just a lot of fun. And the trigger on that LTT is bananas good. It really is. If any of you out there haven't tried a PX4 Storm, they're the weirdest looking guns out there, but they are extraordinary. And it's one of those sleeper guns. It's one that just not enough people know about, and I feel like they should. Not an advertisement for Beretta or the PX4 Storm. I'm a believer in finding things that are kind of out there a little bit unusual, but are fantastic and in production or have been in production. So the really weird ones like the Alien, even though it's technically in production, I don't consider it a production gun. Those don't count. They're cool, but those don't count in my mind. I'm talking about real guns that you can go to a shop and you can, generally speaking, find or order. But a PX4 Storm, I'm telling you, you won't regret it. Let's see. Looney Tune, have you had a Glock 25 come through the shop yet? Did they bring those on? Tell me more about that, because the 28, yes, but that was a Lipsies. Was that Lipsies? I feel like that was Lipsies or Tallow. Maybe that was a Tallow thing. I don't know. But that was a special deal for the 28 because the 28 and the 25 don't meet import standards for the US. That's why we have before now not gotten them on. So tell me if the 25 is around. I'd be curious about that. It would be fun to see a 19 size 380. I'd be curious about that. So please tell me more. Scott, my local shop has a 17M, the so-called FBI Glock that I've been eyeing. Okay. Keep me posted if you pick it up. It's a 17. It has the M on it though, but that the letter M, so that's cool. Yeah, I don't know that I've seen an M. Don't they also have a 19M? I think 17 and the 19. Jack Bauer, hard to beat how soft the PX4 shoots. Yeah, never thought I'd like it more than my USP compact. Funny, it's a USP as well. Yeah, the PX4 I'm telling you, man. it's awesome. Pistol Pete, everything that LTT touches has an awesome trigger. Yes, sir, it does. I agree, 100%. Scott just picked up an LTT flag trigger or flat. I don't know why I said flag. Flat trigger for my 92X. Yeah, they're fantastic. And also, Berettas are easy to work on, generally speaking. The PX4 Storm is, there are plenty of videos out there. I mean, you just crack them open, do whatever you need to do, and slap them all back together. They're pretty easy to work on. Jonathan T, what's going on, man? Good to see you're still making content. I was the guy that worked with you when I was with Rand. Oh, yeah, Jonathan, I remember you. Absolutely. And I still have some Rand left. I'm sorry that Rand is not there anymore because Rand products were awesome. They really were, especially the Bolt. I'm having a senior moment right now, but anyways, their stuff was fantastic. So yeah, it's good to see you, man. Thanks for saying hi. Appreciate that. Dexter, keep thinking about the 510. A 510. Is that the FN 510? Tell me more. Steve B, when I started reloading, I was told you're never going to save any money. You'll just shoot more. Sounded like a win-win to me. Yeah. I couldn't do the reloading. I could never justify it. In hindsight, I probably should have, but through the pandemic, I'm kind of glad I didn't because the supplies were so hard to find. Looney Tune, Gen 3 G25 are shipping and currently buy online as well. Interesting. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Do you know if it's a limited run? I'd be curious to know about that. But I might have to do a little bit of snooping after this. Go grab a bourbon, sit on the couch, and look at Gunbroker. It's the worst combination ever, by the way, just so you guys know. Do not have an adult beverage and go on Gunbroker. Horrible idea. Anyway, you can draw your own conclusions to that. Dexter, yep. Let's see, Captain Phil, yeah, buddy. Let's see, Pistol Pete. Good to see you on the tube again. Chaos Gunga, Happy New Year. Pete, to you as well, my brother. To you as well, for sure. Are you leaving? Are you checking out? Because I'll probably stay on for another moment or two, especially because I want to hear about if it's if this G25 is a special edition thing or not. Dexter FN 510. It just seems like a decent 10 millimeter. Yeah, I mean, I imagine it would be. Most of the 10 millimeters that have come out in the last couple of years, I seemingly are very good guns. Three Wheel Man NC, great to see you. Great to see you. And I'll catch up. Let's see. Beretta APX A1 FS TAC is amazing. They ain't easy being green. Nice. Yeah, the APXs were good guns. I always liked them. I had no problem with that. You know, it's funny. I tested the full size and the compact, or subcompact, I guess it was, but I never tested the Centurion, and that's the one that I really wanted to try the most. And I know you can get them for like $2 now. I should probably try one at some point. But yeah, APX is a very good gun. Scott, I wasn't drinking bourbon, but that's how I ended up with the M44 Mosin. Yeah. I'm in the middle of a bottle of Woodford Reserve. It's the double oaked. It's a fantastic bottle of bourbon, by the way. If you're into bourbon at all, Woodford Reserve double oaked. It's really good. It's kind of pricey, but it's a fantastic beverage. So that'll get you in lots of trouble. So go forth, be merry there. So Looney, I'm going to have to do some research on that. You've got me really curious. So I'm going to check that out. It is after 8, so perhaps we will stick to the hour thing unless you guys want to go for a few more minutes. I'm totally fine with that. I'd probably go for another 10 minutes or so. Let's see. Steve B, the whole ammo shortage. I supplied all the ammunition for deer hunting for 16 people. That's a lot of ammo, unless they're not shooting very much. A bunch of people just left. I just saw. Okay. Let's see. Did you check out the new S&W 5.7? That's Dexter. Yes, I've seen them. I've not shot one, but I've seen them. I mean, again, they look really nice. I think, what is it? PSA and Smith & Wesson both have some pretty viable options for 5.7. So if you're into that round, if that's a thing for you, might be worth checking out. Well, let's do this because we do usually end after about an hour. And like I said, a bunch of people just just bailed on this first name. Hello, first name. Got to run. Glad you're on. I'm glad you said hello and glad you were here. I really appreciate it. Why don't we call it for now? I'd say let's plan on doing this again in a couple of weeks. I'm going to try and find a better night than Friday, unless you guys prefer Friday. I feel like midweek makes more sense for these things. Friday night, a lot of people are out, want to go do things. So I'm going to try and figure something else out with that. But anyways, guys, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me and chatting and all that kind of good stuff. Always a really good conversation. Great questions, great advice as well. I learned so much from you guys. But listen, everybody have a very safe, very fun new year. Do all of the terrible things, but don't get caught. But anyways, we will catch up again very soon. And like I said, guys, thanks so much. I will talk with you soon.